Ladies and gentlemen, this is John Rare. Normally this show is full of fun. You know, we normally will drink, we'll have fun, we'll poke fun at the business, but tonight, John Rare, along with two very special guests, Tyreke and Roma, we're going to discuss what I'm considering the meltdown of America. But as everybody who's been paying attention to social media or the news lately, we have a problem going on right now, and I've reached out to these gentlemen to basically help me bring it to the fans. All three of us are in the entertainment business of professional wrestling. So first I would like to introduce Tyreke.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on, man.
So, how are you doing right now?
Honestly, not well. And what I mean by that is just because myself is doing okay, my brothers and sisters around the world are not okay. Everything that's going on in the media right now is just going to create World War III, which is, to me, is already happening.
And you're rather close to one of the places where there is rioting, correct?
Yes, I'm right in Georgia, actually.
Now, Roma, you are close to me, if I'm right. You are located in Anniston, Alabama, correct?
Yes, sir, Anniston, Alabama.
And Anniston, currently, I don't think there's really been any riots or anything out that way, if I'm correct.
No riots. There was a no justice, no peace march today, but it remained peaceful.
Yeah, the peaceful, when it comes to these, these protests, I'm 100% for, the protests. But when it comes to, looting your city and, the tearing your city apart, and then especially, over last night, the deaths that's starting to occur over, these situations, that's whenever it's starting to hit a little bit too close to home, if you know what I mean.
I understand. And I completely understand as well. I mean, to me, I just feel like, with them rioting, okay, that's cool. And them looting stores, okay, I see where some are thinking that's okay. But what I'm concerned about is that they're also looting these stores that are black owned. And honestly, I'm thinking, okay, why are we destroying someone's shop who's black and that owns it? That defeats the purpose.
Yes, I read the story about the Minnesota. I think he owned the bar that he saved, his life savings to build. I think he was a former firefighter, if I'm correct. And I read where, because of the COVID-19 epidemic, that we're still struggling to get through, he had to discontinue his insurance. So his bar was uninsured when it was rioted.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate that happened to him, but I'm not saying I disagree or agree with the rioting, but what it has done is definitely taken the national spotlight and people are paying attention now, and this has been brought to the forefront. So maybe this will put a stop to the police brutality all across the United States. Yeah, and Roma, I'm going to have to agree with you, man. I'm like, they're paying a great cost, and I'm hoping that in the end run, that is going to pay off. Because the way I see it is, if we're going to take so much emphasis on rioting, burning places down, we need this to work. Because if it doesn't work, we're all going to be struggling as an economy even worse than we were, I want to say, back in the 50s maybe? Because I really feel like us destroying all these buildings is going to reset our economy. I feel you. This is only half the job. We can riot, we can do everything we have to do, protest in the streets. But when this is over, we have to get out, we have to get out and vote, we have to educate ourselves on the laws of the nation. We have to be an active part of the country. Yes. And I'm trying not to cut you off, Mr. Roma or Mr. Ware. I really believe that if we can get more people of color inside of the office, inside of for judges, people who can be in positions of power to make sure that they can proceed with the federal prosecutions when these officers commit these crimes, that they have the match time that any other man of color or any other person in general would have for committing that crime.
Now, this is one of my thoughts, that maybe it won't prevent this kind of bullshit from happening, but I believe any cop that kills in the line of duty, justified or unjustified, I believe they should be honestly held like in custody, not for their safety, but for, to review it and, to see if it was justified or unjustified. Like, for it to happen and the cop to just walk freely, like nothing happened for almost 48 hours.
Right.
That right there, that's to me, it is a slap in the face.
Yeah. It is, but I was watching something on the news today, and the governor of New York was saying how self-policing hasn't been working. If something like this happens again, which I hope it doesn't, but if it does happen again, they should get an outside police force, an outside district attorney to come in and investigate the situation rather than have the police force in that city, the police force that officer was a part of, do the investigation. Yeah, and just to add on that to what Mr. Roma said, that's just like, hey, my buddies work for me. I already know I'm going to get a slap on the wrist. I ain't got nothing to worry about. These guys are on my payroll. Why in the world would I have anything to worry about? But if we have someone who's outside of that city, someone who's not biased, we can have a pretty fair investigation going on to put these officers to justice.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that one. Like, the buddy system, the buddy system's everywhere. It strands from, professional wrestling, the police force, and, definitely, I agree with you on that one. When you don't think you're going to get in trouble for something, and like the officer that we're talking about, I read where he has had multiple infractions against him because of excess force.
I read that too. This is 12 or 13.
Yeah, it was up there a lot. And, to me, that right there should have been a red flag immediately.
But that being said, should there be something implemented where if you get so much excessive force, should you go to a training? Should you go to a counseling? What's the penalty for excessive force?
That's a good point. What's the penalty on that? Like, if you have 20 excessive forces and it just, it racks up and you don't ever get in trouble for it, then why is it excessive force?
Why is there even a thing?
True. Like, I'm in the Birmingham area, and last night, it got rowdy. Like, my wife actually went out to eat last night on her day off with some friends, and, like, there were some protests in Birmingham, which they were peaceful. It didn't get out of hand, but, they get a little rowdy. And, I had to keep up with her. But in Hoover, there was actually, I want to say there was almost 20 arrests in Hoover, Alabama last night because of the protests. Now, I don't know about you, but Roma, do you remember the Galleria shooting that we had to deal with about a year and a half ago?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so I think more than likely some of the, some of the anger was still being felt, from there last night, and maybe that's why it got a little bit more heated than, probably what it should have been. But in our profession, we've heard. Did you see the tweet that Seth Rollins put out?
No, what did he say?
Seth Rollins, hashtagged, Black Lives Matter.
Uh-huh.
Then Randy Orton, he hashtagged Black Lives Matter, but no, I think he put. Well, basically, what Orton put, I can't pull it up to the T, but basically he's... Oh, say that again?
I saw Randy Orton's tweet.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, Orton's basically he was saying, all lives will matter, but we have to get Black Lives Matter to the same, equality as everybody else. In which it's agreed.
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. No, okay. And what I'm saying, what I interpret from that, what he said all lives matter, but he did say, but in order for all lives to matter, Black lives has to matter as well. And here's just an example that I seen today on Twitter. For instance, there are two houses right here. One house is on fire. The other house is not. It's perfectly fine. We're going to go help. The house is on fire. But then someone else, hey, what about the other house? And we ask, what about the other house? Well, my house needs help too. Okay, but this house is on fire. Why would we focus on your house when it looks perfectly fine? And the person whose house is not on fire goes, well, all houses matter. Well, guess what? We didn't say that the other house didn't matter, but this particular house right here is on fire. So we need to help this one. And I think that's going to be the same analogy right now. We did not say that all lives doesn't matter, but as of right now, Black lives are the only lives right now in perspective that is being exterminated right now. You don't see any of these cops killing any white Americans. You don't see them You don't see them killing any Asians or Chinese people. You don't see any other people of color except for black people. So that's what we need to focus on. We're not saying that all lives doesn't matter, because everyone's lives matter. But in particularly right now, for what's going on, Black lives matter.
Now, did you see the, I believe it was a tweet or a post, it may have actually been a Facebook post from former WWF star Tammy, which was Sunny back in the day. Did you see what she posted?
I didn't. What did she post?
She posted that it was about the Black Lives Matter movement. It was actually a photo of the gentlemen on their knees in basically silent protest or peaceful protest, because it was a photo, so I don't know what was going on. But they were on their knees doing their post. She said basically that the thugs were out of control and they had to be put under control. And Tammy's been in the negative spotlight here a lot lately with the Japanese wrestler committing suicide lately, and she got on her case about that. So Tammy, I'm gonna put the photo up of what she said. Like, if you haven't seen one of my videos or my interviews, it constantly has photos going across it, so I'll put that up so you can actually read what she wrote. So right now, over there in Georgia, how's the riots been today?
I haven't been keeping up with it. Well, I saw last night with the Georgia riots. I haven't seen what they were like today, but I'm sure if they were anything like yesterday, it's wild out there. It's safe and controlled, and I don't want anybody to get hurt. But if this is what it takes to bring this situation to an end, it is what it is.
Like, definitely, it's not just the U.S., it's the world now that is paying attention to this, because if you've looked in the media today, London has been performing a peaceful protest over there, along with India.
I saw a protest in Iran. That caught me off guard.
Yeah. Like, it's overseas now, and over there in India, they built like a little mural for the Minnesota situation, and it's spreading.
It's humanity. Nobody can sit there with a clear conscience and a clear heart And watch a man kneel on a man's neck for 9 minutes. Not feeling any kind of way about it.
I watched a video, and it was called 5 Simple Words. And it was, have you seen this video yet?
I haven't, no.
It's called, 5 Simple Words, and it's, I want to be black. Why does an African American have to be scared, or why does he have to fear or be skittish to be black in America now? And, it's a great video to look up. It's him running, he's talking. I want to say it almost dates back to the Trayvon situation. He's got a hoodie on, and he's running. And he keeps, re-saying the same things, bringing up a different situation, but he gets shot at the end of every one of them.
I have seen that video. A friend of mine, his name is Rodney Pumpy. He's from Madison, too.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what video you're talking about.
So, yeah, I watched that video, and, it's an awesome video.
Yeah, it was an awesome video. And honestly, I can answer that question of the video as well. I mean, for me being an African American man, I have the fear of going out of town for some of my shows because, thinking about it, gosh, and then Trayvon Martin get gunned down here in Florida, and now here I am, and you get those type of thoughts, and I feel like I can't even go out for a job without having the thought of someone doing to me what they did to that gentleman in Brunswick. It's sad. And that's the fear we have on a daily basis.
One of my...
You said you have to fear be skittish about being black now. I'm supposed to tell you that it's not just now. I'm only 29, but it's been ever since I've been alive. I mean, from the beginning of time, my parents even told me how to deal with police when I was a little boy. If they say something to you, comply, don't argue, give them what they ask for, I hope you can go about your day.
Yeah.
Luckily, I haven't had any physical altercations with the cops. But there's been a couple of times where I've been asked what I'm doing in an area, why I'm here, told to get out of the car, sit on the curb, while they search my car with no reason. But I'm not doing the same thing. If they want something, give it to them and keep it going. Don't try to fight them. Don't try to be a street lawyer. Yeah, and see, Roma, you're 29, and I'm not mistaken, you're going on 30. Myself, I'm actually 18 going on 19. So there's about like a 10-year age difference between me and you. And, I haven't had any experience in that type of department. I haven't been pulled over before, but now it's like, golly, man, I'm scared as fuck if I do get pulled over, because now you're looking at all the stuff that's going on. And how do you answer a question? Why are you here?
Yeah.
How do you answer that?
I'll tell you this, in the professional wrestling business, you get gentlemen from out of state all the time. I've got a very good friend. He did live in Colorado. I think he's living in Texas now. He's Mexican. He came down here years ago to Alabama, and it was actually, I believe, Coleman. And if you get off at I think it's the first Coleman exit, there's a really small gas station covered in rebel flags.
Mm-hmm.
So, that right there is, it's just like a bullseye for, anybody not white. Just period. Just, you don't want to stop at that damn store.
Growing up, my parents told me not to go to Coleman.
Yeah. And I've heard the same thing. If you're not white, you shouldn't be in Coleman. And I've only been there a few times, so I can't say, how really bad it is. But, his story was, he was there, and, it was kind of late night after a show. And, you feel kind of uncomfortable going to a store like that and then possibly getting lost in a town like that. That's something that I wouldn't want to experience.
Yeah, I get nervous myself. I've never been to Coleman. I get nervous myself when I'm in a town I don't know about, and I'm usually the only person of color in the gas station or wherever I'm going. I don't know how they're going to perceive me, if they're going to perceive me. I don't know. It's tough sometimes. I try my best to avoid those situations. Every now and again, you have to go to the restroom, you have to get gas. It's strange feeling to be somewhere where you're outnumbered and you don't know who the people are.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then on top of that, think about the time that they're relieving. The show's probably going to end around like maybe 10, 11 o'clock, and then there's also maybe a 2 to 3 hour drive if you're coming from state to state. Like myself, when I travel to Alabama time and time, I'm getting home maybe like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and leaving the show, you know, we got to get gas after we don't receive our pay. And, you know, things can happen right then and there. Maybe even walking out the venue. And that's where it gets scary. Yeah, you have to understand too, wrestling fans come in all ages. Some that are babies, some that are 70, 80 years old. And we aren't that far removed from the civil rights era. Exactly. I don't know if those things die out or what, but some people that were alive then are alive now.
And you know, I'm about to hit 40 in a year or so, and like, it's unfortunate to say, but do I think racism will be gone before I'm dead? That's a strong no. I don't think. Honestly, I don't think it'll ever damn be gone. And you know, that's one of the probably the saddest things that I'll ever have to say.
It is. It's a sad thing, but it probably won't go anywhere. Or it'll die down. Things have gotten better. They have improved. I mean, there was a time where black people couldn't even eat in the same restaurant or sit in front of the bus or any of that. We've had a black president now, so things are improving. At the same time, we're still watching our own genocide. So maybe one step at a time, but things definitely are improving.
Now, yesterday, we had our first space launch in technically about 11 years, or no, 10 years actually, because it was 2011. Now, the president walked out during his speech, and instead of talking about that or the Minnesota, he just discussed the China trade system and the Wu situation. What was your take on that whole, you know, kind of cold shoulder of the Minnesota situation from the president?
I don't think President Trump, I think he's gotten over his head. I think sometimes he thinks violence is the best policy. If he doesn't know what to say in situations, he knows he'll make the entire country angry saying the wrong thing. By him not saying anything, makes it seem like he doesn't care. So now the country is saying, why isn't he speaking on this? This is what's going on. The whole country's burning down. This is the time the president needs to call for action, needs to stop the violence, needs to have something in place. And I 100% agree with you on that one, Roma, but I mean, it's been 4 years since this man been in office. Out of all the outrageous things he's done, are people really surprised that he hasn't touched on this? Are you surprised that he hasn't acknowledged this? Are you surprised that he hasn't tweeted about this? I mean, the man has made so many decisions that are not smiled upon. It's like, I'm not even surprised that he doesn't care. I mean, think about it. In a couple of months in November, if he gets voted out of the office, he's still going to make what, about $250,000? I'm sorry, $250,000 each year just for sitting on his butt. He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Now, you know, last night, Chicago had their riots, and you know, their riots turned bad. The main police force from Chicago was actually on the side of the river where the Trump Tower was. Do you find that as a coincidence?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I know it looks like it's chaos, but it's organized chaos. They know what they want. They know where they're going. They know their target audience. They know if they're in front of Trump Towers, that'll give them all the press in the world. And now even more eyes that weren't looking at this are on it now. And like I said, no justice, no peace.
No, I know Dallas. I watched the situation on Dallas last night where the individual trying to protect his store was actually beaten almost to death and even stoned in front of the in front of the store. Now, as of right now, I haven't heard any updates on that individual. If he lived or not. But I know a few deaths last night. I want to say it was Missouri or Colorado where the individual ran over by the FedEx truck. Did you see that situation?
No, tell me more about that one.
They surrounded this FedEx truck, and it was one that had the two cabs or the two trailers. And, he stopped. But they started surrounding the truck, started hitting it, and, getting on the sides. So he blew the horns, and, they really started smashing it and hitting it. So he took off. Someone got dragged by the trailer for miles, and he did die.
Sad situation.
So, like I said, I 100%, me and my wife believe in, the protests, this, speaking up, because, that part has definitely worked. And, I've got my cities that, I'm a Chicago boy, so I hate the looting in Chicago, and I hate that what happened to Atlanta. When they start stealing, and the people, I want to just say, when they exceed what what they're there for, that's whenever it's just like, go home. The one officer, well, no, there was 3 officers now that I've read. One got stabbed in the neck by a protester, and he died. But then 2 of them was ambushed in their car, and they died. From what I read. Now, this is all stuff that I've read. I don't have concrete evidence on this stuff. Because the media, to me, the media and online, when you read stuff online, you don't know if you're getting the truth or the media's truth.
And we don't want to see anybody dying in the streets. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are taking this and taking it further than it should go. At the same time, Dr. King said it best. The riot is the voice of the unheard. We tried peaceful protests and that didn't work. I mean, look, when we had Martin Luther King, we had Malcolm. One was peace, all by any means necessary. They both ended up murdered. We tried Kaepernick kneeling. They vilified him and took his career from him. So now, what else do we do? I mean, I'm not saying we should go out and kill the cops. We should do any of that. I'm saying, where do we go from here? What do we do? We couldn't do it peacefully. You don't want us to protest violently, and I don't either. But what is the solution? What can we do to get you to see that we don't want you to kill us anymore? And honestly, Roma, I feel like if you can't answer that question, then you don't just need to jump out and follow everybody else. And because honestly, I'm sitting here thinking right now about that question. I don't even know what we can do. Because when you look at it this way, the peaceful protests, they're going on, and some people are still getting hit and beaten by the police with brutality. And then when you decide to fight back with a riot, you're still getting beat by the police with brutality. And it's like a lose-lose situation. And like I said earlier, I really hope that whatever we do, the cost that we pay, I really hope that it pays off in the end, because if nothing don't change, we literally just wasted time. We wasted innocent lives, and we also wasted some of the buildings that we actually need.
Yeah,
I agree, 100%.
Like, that's a $1 billion question. Is, what can African Americans do to, put their word out in any way? Peaceful or non-peaceful? What can y'all do to be heard without being said, you can't do that, or, that's not right, that's racist, you can't, like I said, that's a $1 billion question. What can be done? You can't put your hand up, when winning in the medal, because it's not right. You can't kneel, because it's disrespectful. You can't talk, because it's not right. You can go on and, this is a conversation that won't have an ending.
Yeah, that's right. And see, and I like what Detroit is doing, because Detroit is actually partnering up with some of the policemen from their city. And I think that if we all can do that, we get the cops that are good, we get the cops to walk with us. Therefore, we can single out, okay, either he's with us or you're against us. Now, if the cops don't want to work with us, they don't want to walk with us, then now we see who's not on our side. Because at the end of the day, all cops aren't bad. But the real issue is all cops aren't good. And I think that's a headline right there. So we need to work on getting more cops inside of the system who are good, and also getting people inside of our offices in power who cares about us. And then, like I said, and just to take back to what I said earlier, it doesn't even have to be people of color inside of the office. We just need people who everyone matters. Especially black people, because we're the target.
There was a very powerful photo that I seen today. It was 3 or 4 gentlemen on the CNN logo. Did either one of y'all see that?
Yeah, I did see that. I saw it, yes, sir.
So you had the Mexican guy that had the Black Lives Matter flag. You had the black guy, I believe, that had the American flag, and the white guy had the fist up in the air. And that to me that was solidarity right there.
That's it, man. That's all we want. We don't want to be better than anybody. We don't want to be treated any different. We just want the equality. We want to be able to walk down the street. I want to be able to buy Skittles and walk home. I want to be able to sleep in my own house. I want to have my son play cops and robbers in the front yard. If I tell you I can't breathe, I want you to get off me. That's all I'm asking. Exactly. And what I also want is, if I commit a crime and a police officer commits a crime, we get the same time.
Yes, and there's actually, I don't know the name of that law, but there's actually a thing about officers that commit a crime on duty that limits their what do you call it? It limits their justice, basically, on they don't get in as much trouble because they're under. I don't know how to word it. I just read it today. Basically, they can shoot somebody on duty and they're not held to the same accountability as a civilian, basically.
Right.
It's because, they're on duty. It's that kind of thing. To me, that's wrong.
They have that code, and we all know what it is. I fear for my life. All you got to say, that should get out of jail free card.
Yeah. Now, is Georgia a stand your ground state?
Yes, it is. And on top of that, as of right now, the only 2 cities is Atlanta and Brunswick right now, and the rest are kind of like protesting. And I feel like we need to keep it peaceful until it's time for us to be brutal and for us to use violence, honestly.
Like, I literally watched a video today, and I'm not sure what city this one was in, but the group was rioting and looting the store. The owner pulled up in like an SUV with a shotgun and literally just started letting off. He just started shooting.
Can't blame them. It's his property.
I mean, it is. It's one of.
If you're gonna loot, you gotta get the customers that come with it.
Yeah. Like, some of the videos that I've witnessed over the last 48 hours, would be like you're watching a movie of, a very bad fucked up movie.
Yeah.
And, you've seen some positive stuff from some celebrities. You've seen some negative stuff from celebrities. I know Snow the Product. She's a rapper from L.A. right now, currently. But, she posted a picture of, I think it was the Santa Cruz police kneeling down with protesters on the street. And he quoted that he put his helmet down and his baton because, he's one with the community. So, that's really cool. And, like, I watched the thing about the Detroit. I think it was the Flint captain. He said that he wanted to, make that protest a parade. you know, and keep it peaceful, which is, you know, awesome. And like you said, you know, if you can weed out the bad ones, which there needs to be some, you know, like when we were talking about the people that get in trouble constantly with excess force, you know, that's what needs to be put out there right now. These people that are, these cops that are violent and have a past about it, that needs to be brought up.
I mean, even in a professional wrestling environment, if I'm known for hurting my opponent in the ring, I won't get booked anywhere.
Yeah.
If I'm, especially opponents that don't look like me, if I'm purposely targeting people and hurting them, I won't be a wrestler ever again. On a shoot job, if I'm out doing whatever I'm doing and I'm just keep getting written up for the same thing over and over, they'll terminate me. Well, why is it not the same thing in the police department?
And you know, like, you know, I live here in Alabama. I actually live in a great town, I believe. Like, we don't have, as far as I know, we don't have nothing like this going on. I never hear of anything, you know, with racism or anything around here. So I thank God that I live where I live at right now. Like, you know, we all live, and you know, it's not just a white community. We have white, black, definitely Asian, and then you know, huge Mexican presence here in this area. So, you know, I'm glad that I live in a peaceful area. But, you know, we all don't have that, we don't have that fortune. Now, do you think that with everybody being cooped up and everybody being forced to stay at home with the COVID-19, you know, epidemic, did that fuel a lot of these protests for people to get out and, you know, riot?
I don't think so. I think people really are just tired of police abuse their power. I think that's all it is, too. Yes, and I also agree with him. You know, people are tired. People are wanting to see change. And, you know, people are looking at it like this way as, if we can't ask them, we just have to force them. But then again, and this is just for my city, because I know how my city of people are. Some people are just looking to let out anger and just want to destroy stuff. Some people are looking at this as an opportunity to, if they're crashing target, I can go steal a TV that I need, you know? And I feel like that's the wrong reason that they're doing that. If they are doing it that way, that's the wrong reason why. They're going there for the wrong reason. But like I said, it's not everybody, but I just know for the people in my city, that's kind of what they're looking at. I agree with that 100%. Just like we said earlier, the cops need to be police harder and need to know who the good cops are, who the bad cops are. It's like on the other side, with us, people that want justice. There's some that actually want to see a better America. They want to see the community and the police work hand in hand. There's also some that just want to go loot and go and destroy stuff. We need to realize who's who on both sides. So we can make progress together.
I mean, like, you know, everybody's dream is for, you know, society to be perfect. You know, I'd love for my daughters to be able to walk down, you know, Birmingham and not have to worry about being robbed, you know, not have to be worried about being taken, you know, because of sexual predators. And, you know, the Mexican community, you know, they come over here, you know, seeking jobs. And, you know, I've got a few real good Mexican friends, and, you know, they've all, you know, came over legally. And, you know, why would you not want to better your family? You know, why would you not want, you know, like they say, to live the American dream? And, you know, to me, the American dream, no, this is my opinion. The American dream for the black man right now is just to live another day. And, you know, it's, you know, it drives me crazy. You know, I'm white, so it feels weird to even try to talk about it, but it does drive me nuts. It really does. It irritates me so much.
I think the saddest thing about this entire situation right now is the fact that Black Lives Matter is a controversial statement. The fact that we're trying to get you to see that we matter, and people still meet it with opposition. People are still against it, saying everything matters. In case you not agree that Black Lives Matter, that's all we're asking.
Yeah.
Black Lives Matter is a controversial statement. And what's wrong with the matter in existence?
Your audio just went down extremely low right there.
Sorry.
Okay.
What I was saying was, it's not a competition. You know, it's not like the African American race is trying to be better than to the white Americans or any other race. You know, we just want to be equal. That's all.
Yeah. And and the truth is, and I believe that Trump just passed today. This is another media thing, so I don't know how true it is, that the Antifa or an Antifa, whatever that group's called, he labeled them as a terrorist group.
Yeah. I read that too. I just read that actually.
Like, like I say, sometimes when I read all this media stuff, you never know what's true and what's not true, because media, I hate the media to death, because they got their own agenda with everything. If they're Democrats, they're going to, do the Democrat side. If they're Republican, they're going to do the Republican side. So, you never know what story you're actually getting.
You don't, and you got to do your own research. I was talking to my dad about this earlier. I'm saying, if they control the media, they tell you what they want you to hear, show you what they want you to see. But now we have access to so much information with the internet, with just our smartphones.
Yeah.
It's easier now than ever to do your own research and see what's going on. Yeah, and also, just to touch on what you just said, Twitter is one of the most amazing places to get your news from. In the actual news that you see on TV just earlier, it stated that a mob of protesters killed an innocent man for no reason. But in a video on Twitter, you see a man with a sword running towards protesters trying to attack them. But of course, the media left that out so that you wouldn't see that on television.
Yes.
I've seen something on the internet that hasn't been on the media, and once again, the internet isn't always true either. I've seen where undercover police officers are going into the peaceful protests and instigating riots.
Yes, me and my wife was actually just talking about that. CNN had a quick story about it, and then, I've seen other stories about it where they said, and, the one that I actually read, it said white undercover cops went in and joined up with groups in Minnesota, and they're the ones that started the fires, actually. Like the fire at I think it was AutoZone. The story was, it was a white undercover cop that started that fire.
Yeah, I've read that's been going on in a lot of major cities.
So, and, unless they catch the people, don't know if it's true and don't know. But who are they going to blame?
Exactly.
And I read in Arizona, a guy that was worth a couple million dollars, white guy, was in the protests. Did you read that?
No.
I did not. I did. You did? Okay, I didn't get his name, but apparently the guy is pretty wealthy, so he went out there and joined up into the protests, and those protests actually got violent, and they started looting. So this man that's worth a couple $1 million was out there looting, with the groups.
Wow. That's messed up. I mean, when anarchy sets in, like I said, I don't agree with the looting or the rioting, but I definitely understand.
Well, 100%, the message is out there now, so it's on the good people to hear it, and to wean the bad ones out, especially the ones that are in these positions. In first line, the police. And like I said, there should be some kind of reform with these cops that have multiple incidences like that.
Yeah. I mean, what does it take to become a cop now? 13 weeks at the police academy?
Probably so. Like, that's definitely something that I want to look into.
Right. I mean, I'm sure, being a policeman is a tough job. I mean, you want to come home every day. You don't know what you're going to experience on the job. People hate you as it is.
Yeah.
People are looking to get you in trouble. uphold the laws of the land and treat people the way they want to be treated. Exactly. I was just, you chose to put that badge on. It wasn't. You have to understand. They may not have to. Uphold that type of precedent. You should have put that badge on.
No, I believe 100% that cops should be doubled up in vehicles at all times because, if you got one bad cop, it's kind of unpreventable, but the chances of you having two bad cops, it's still a high chance, but you cut it in half at least by 50% because I've seen where one person was pinned down today and the cop had his knee on his back or his neck, similar to the case that started it, and the other cop removed his knee.
And that's all it takes. That's all it takes. Checks and balances.
And I can't remember who said it. They were like, the person that filmed the whole incident, why didn't they run up and, stop it? And, you do got to look at it, hey, I'm going to run up and, interfere with this, arrest. So now I'm going to be arrested and I'm going to go to jail. But, how many people were sitting around watching that incident and didn't interfere?
Way too many. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
I know, it's hard to say when you're in the heat of the moment like that, but when the man screams 11 times, I can't breathe, and then he goes motionless, someone, should have fucking ran up. The other fucking cop that just stood there and, tried to keep people back, the whole situation was just, everything was wrong about it, I swear, that's one of those situations where if one of the people that was in the crowd would have just ran up and, super kicked the damn cop in the face.
Right.
What could that, what would that one incident have saved?
Yeah, that would have saved. Think of how much, not saying human life is worth any monetary value. Think of how much time it would have saved. The courthouse in Nashville just burned down last night. The police station in Minneapolis, they're riding all over the country. One person stepping up and stopping that situation would have saved all this.
And, I've watched a video of a younger, I will say it was in L.A., maybe you've seen this, the younger black guy on his knees, he had his, hands on his head, like he was supposed to, but all the cops had their guns drawn on them in the intersection, and this lady was recording it, and she was screaming, for him to do what he was supposed to do, and, telling the cops, why don't you go and get him, put your guns down. Have you seen that video by chance?
No, I've seen countless like it.
Yeah, she was bawling. So, eventually they went up and grabbed him and arrested him and, they put him in the car properly. And they asked her, who he was to her. And she said, I don't know him. But my boyfriend, I think it was her boyfriend, died a few years prior to that by the cops.
Yep, I've seen that video.
And, that one hit you hard too, just watching it, as a mother, as a son, anything like that, if you've been through that situation before, and I've never had to be put in that situation. I'm a gun owner. I've got some big ass guns, but I've got a policy. If I've got my gun on me, and I'm licensed, but if I've got my gun on me and I get pulled over, the first thing I damn do is put it on the dashboard, pull the clip out. That way I don't have to reach for it. It's, it's not in my damn range. It's in their range. And, even as a white guy, that's what I do because I don't want to have to reach for my damn gun to show them or, to be put in a situation like that.
Right.
And, I will say it was North Carolina. I think North Carolina is an open carry state. The guy was working on his vehicle, if I'm correct, a black guy, and he had a gun, which he's legally can carry there. The officer told him to put the gun down because they were questioning him for something. He reaches to pull the gun. They shoot him. And he says, that's what you told me to do. And, I'm not sure how old that story is, but that one right there, it hit you. You told the guy to put the gun on the ground. Then when he reaches for it, you shoot him. You've got that was their body cam footage. You've got body cam footage. What the fuck are you thinking?
Do you remember Philando Castile's story?
What state was that?
I'm not sure, but he was the guy. He was in the passenger seat. His son was in the back seat. His girlfriend or wife was driving. Yep. And they pulled over, and the cop asked him to get his ID out. He went to reach for it. They shot him right in front of everybody.
I do believe, if I'm correct, I do believe it, because I just remember seeing the footage, because he got shot a few times, and one of them was in the arm, and I want to say the neck too, right?
Yeah, they fired into the car a couple times.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do remember the story. My thing is, for some reason, I remember states. I do remember a few names, but I just remember the states for some reason more than the names.
Right. I mean, you asked him to reach for his ID. When he reached, you shoot him?
And see, like, I know it's no comparison, but that's why I put my gun on the dash, and even like if I can have my wallet out, up top, I try to do that.
That's what I do. I've learned to put my wallet in the cell phone holder.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, like if I'm on a motorcycle, everything's in a backpack, so that always makes it a little bit more uncomfortable.
Right.
But I've never been pulled over on my motorcycle, but honestly, if I ever was, I would probably just hand him the backpack. Like, hey, there's a gun. I'll tell him, there's a gun in there, my wallet's in there, my registration. I don't want to reach in there. And and that's.
I was talking to a guy, and he was jokingly saying, if he got pulled over by the cops, he'd make him. I want him to his house to pull him over.
Yeah, and some places, you can drive to a safe location. Like if you call the dispatcher and tell them that you're being followed and you want to go to a certain location, they're supposed to let you do that.
The people don't know the laws like that.
Yeah, like there are certain, and I will say they did that for women. Because, if they're on like a back road, because, we actually had a case years ago here in Alabama. A guy was pulling women over, and I want to say he was kidnapping them as a, fake police officer.
Oh, wow.
And, honestly, Roma, I want to say it happened in Anniston or Gadsden.
I gotta look into that.
Yeah, like he was pulling them over. He had the lights and everything. And I think what got him in trouble was he had someone pulled over and a real cop came around.
Wow, that's an interesting story. How long ago was it?
It honestly probably has been 10 years or more.
Okay, well, yeah. I gotta look into that.
Yeah, if I find that story, I'll send you. If I can find it, I'll send you the link. I'm pretty sure I can find it. It is an older story, I know, but I'm pretty sure it's there somewhere.
Okay.
But if I'm right, it was in your area. If I'm correct, I want to say it was, but if not, it was Alabama.
Wow.
But yeah, there that is a law. You can call the dispatch, and they can. Talk to the police officer and you at the same time about pulling over in a, lidded area, because I don't want to pull over in no damn spot, blacked out and everything where you can't see shit. And neither does the officer either. They don't want to pull out in an area where there's no lights. My wife.
I've always been told, if you do get pulled over, get to a gas station, get somewhere where there are people at.
Yes, like that. You never. To me, you don't want to ever be pulled over one-on-one where you don't know what could happen. With the cop, thinking it can be an ambush, or you just being there put one-on-one, in a hick town, and you don't want to be put in that situation.
Right.
But Do either of you gentlemen have any final words you'd like to add before we send this one home tonight?
Oh man, the only words I want to finish with are Black Lives Matter. I just want to say I'm praying for everyone and all be together as one, equality and all. Black Lives Matter.
Awesome, gentlemen. Well, I definitely enjoyed having you both on. I will be uploading it to my YouTube channel. Hopefully YouTube or Facebook don't take it down. Hopefully they won't. But I'm going to have some photos from the events over the last 48 hours. And this is John Rare. Thanks everybody for listening.